Blessings and Pan-African love, everyone, and welcome to Roots of Africa, presented by Aido Network International. I'm your hostess, Her Royal Highness Queen Aminata Asale II. This is an interactive show, so please type your questions in the comments, and we'll attempt to answer some of them at the end of the show if time permits. As you know, Aido Network International does everything possible to find personalities to share with you their views and advice on the revival of Africa's traditional cultural values and best practices in a world which tends to minimize and ignore importance. Today, we have two very special guests with us, and I'm going to have them introduce themselves. We'll start with Her Royal Highness Princess Nikiwe. Princess, you're on mute.
Thank you so much, Queen Aminata. Greetings, everyone. Princess Nikiwe, Bam, from Amampondomise Kingdom in South Africa. Ndingumangxabane, ndingurhebela, ndingupapa nomhlehle, ndingumeyiwe, ndingutholele umthwakazi, ndingumdachi, ndinguncokazi. Those are my clan names, and I greet you all. I'm the Culture and Heritage Ambassador for Aido Network International to South Africa. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Princess. And second, we have His Royal Highness Sizwe. He would like to introduce himself. Welcome, Your Royal Highness.
Thank you very much, Queen Aminata. Inkosi Sizwe Ngqalabutho Dlamini of Nhlangwini, Natal South Coast. I'm of the Dlamini Royal House of Nhlangwini. Of course, we are known as Sibalhulu, Dlaminis. I'm a direct descendant of the late Inkosi MZ Dlamini, by a full name of Melizwe Zwelopolo, who was then a leader of our tribe before I had to ascend to the throne. Thank you for having us tonight in the show. We look forward in discussions that we may have here tonight. Thank you very much, Queen Aminata.
Thank you, Your Highness, for gracing us with your presence. And of course, we have His Excellency, my co-host, Ambassador Aido Namboka. Please introduce yourself. Ambassador Namboka.
Sorry, I lost you. Did you want me to introduce myself too?
Yes, please.
Thank you very much, Queen Aminata. Your Royal Highness Inkosi Ziwe, Princess Nikiwe Ba, and our viewers, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you may be. We're happy to be meeting you with these distinguished guests. I am Aido's Vice President and also the Vice President of the African Open University in Switzerland. And we're happy to talk about Africa and what Aido wants to do in the spirit of African unity or the spirit of Pan-Africanism. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Now let's get into the show. First off, let me ask you, Your Royal Highness Princess Nikiwe, I understand you're a scientist. Can you break down some of your qualifications in that area before we start talking about the other things?
All right. I'm currently a teacher. I'm a maths and science educator. I studied BSc, Bachelor of Science in Chemistry and Applied Chemistry at Wits University. And I worked as an admin assistant at Wits for the course that was called Advanced Certificate in Education, which was upgrading teachers. And I was obviously advised also to do a teaching course, which I did a postgraduate certificate in education. Then I did my honors in science education and then my master's. So my master's, I was researching in religious beliefs and science, especially looking into integrating our spirituality and the science. Like mostly people believe that science is Western while we actually living the science even in our homes and even spiritually. So I'm currently teaching, but obviously I'm also involved in other organizations, being the founder of the African Young Indigenous Leaders and the Royal People Development Services. I also founded Adopt an Elder Foundation, which is a charity for elderly people, caring for elderly people. And I also registered my own company, which is NPB SMT Academy. SMT meaning Science, Maths, and Technology, which are intended to open science centers, more especially in the disadvantaged communities, so that our children can get exposed to science and doing the experiments. Because even myself, as a rural girl, I could not have experience in a laboratory or in actually touching some of the science equipment, which was more of a challenge when I got to university doing my degree. So yes, that is basically it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Royal Highness. Your dedication to service to the people is outstanding. I commend you for that. So would you please tell us, you're welcome. Would you please tell us what is the role of a cultural ambassador?
Right, as a cultural ambassador, I love culture. I advocate for restoration, for revival of our cultures, more especially royalty, because I've grown up seeing my dad, how committed he was in assisting the people in the communities. So when I got to Wits University, seeing people that, oh, okay, they speak my language, then I felt at home. Okay, there are Xhosa people here. At least I could get friends. So I've been involved in cultural activities from university. I also organized dialogues talking about our culture and the issues that have been affecting young people in general. So when I started the debates, it was 2009 after university when I hosted. And, you know, I've always loved Africa, I must say, because when I started the discussions, it was a forum on embracing the richness of Africa. So I did not know what else I could say, because I always believed that Africa is very rich. And being Xhosa does not limit me to know other cultures, or being Mpondomise does not limit me to know about other cultures and what they do, and also look into how we connect and the similarities that we have. So when I was in a space like Gauteng, I actually tried to learn more about Zulu people, about Tsonga, about Venda, and so on. So even when I joined Contralesa, which is the Congress of Traditional Leaders of South Africa, it was my passion, and also following on my father's steps. Then I founded the African Young Indigenous Leaders, which is now covering the whole continent, because I'm always curious of things that people are doing the similarities when I look into rituals that are happening in Ghana and other countries. I find that they are similar to what is happening in Eswatini. And now you find that in the Eastern Cape, us as Xhosas and other nations that are in the Eastern Cape, we have lost so much of our cultures due to colonization, because when missionaries arrived, I hear that they started in the Eastern Cape and they influenced most of our traditional leaders, which is our chiefs and kings. So they wanted to open churches, they wanted land, then they started to take our system of educating people about the rituals and traditions, and they used it and they said, Ikawa, which is now, they made us believe that they are coming with something that was better than what we already knew. So it's always been my interest in knowing about other cultures and also about the African continent, on how we do things like lobola, initiation, and all those other things that sometimes I find that we are doing them, but there are so many differences in how we actually do the actual traditions. So as a cultural ambassador for Aido, for me, one of the roles is to actually participate in these international spaces where I will actually share some of the knowledge from the southern part of the continent and some of the countries that I've actually interacted with. But besides that, I always believe also that history is better told by those that own it, that have experienced. So I don't really want to own and maybe think that I know more about other nations. That is why sometimes it's important for me to identify experts in these nations, academics, spiritual leaders, so that they can come to such platforms and share with the whole world about their traditions and their cultures. So as an ambassador, I want to learn, and I want to learn from them, and I also want to identify such people to share with the world. And I work very closely with royals. So I also want and wish to give them the space to actually tell the world about who they are and also their royal houses, so that we can create a balance and not have a bias in terms of kingdoms and chiefdoms in our continent. We must always promote each other and always unite as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Your Royal Highness Princess Nikiwe. And something that you said really resonated with me as a person in the diaspora. I agree that it's important that we tell our own stories as far as history is concerned, so that the right story is told the right way with the right perspective. So thank you very much for that. So Princess Nikiwe, continuing on with this conversation, in your role as a cultural ambassador, what specifically are you doing to promote the Grand Royal Summit to the Americas and the Caribbean scheduled for August of this year?
All right. Basically, what I do and always do is to spread the word and also to motivate other kingdoms in the continent, you know, to take a leading role in these reconciliation events, because we need the diaspora, and I know some of them, they want to come and learn about our cultures. So in all the platforms and all the spaces, it's always my wish also to engage with other people here, and I always also promote these events. And we need our royalty to also understand that these pilgrimage are created for us to interact with our brothers and sisters that have been taken away as slaves, and also to learn from them, because I believe that they have got other skills that we do not have, and they can also come and learn from our kingdoms in this continent. And there are so many organizations also that are also in the same space that are interacting mostly with the diaspora. Some of them want to come and do businesses with our royalties, so we want to welcome all of that, but also encourage our kings and queens to also go and visit them as well.
Thank you. Please share your thoughts on what Pan-Africanism is and how that relates to the pilgrimage to the Americas and the Caribbean.
Okay. Yes. Being a Pan-Africanist is actually loving your roots and loving your continent and loving the Black race, because I see some of us, it's because we have lost so much during colonization. So it's always best for us to restore and reclaim what has been taken away from us. And this is the energy and the spirituality that is also involved in that, to actually go and travel and revive the spirits of our ancestors that have left our continent to the diaspora. So these trips and summits are very important for us as Africans as well. And I believe that even the people in the diaspora, they really want us to be there and also give them the perspective of being an African. And since they're Africans, but not living in the continent. But also we must not forget that there are so many challenges and realities that we are facing in our continent, of which we cannot always go there and portray maybe a positive thing. And I know that most of them, they know that Africa is suffering a lot, and that is why they are sitting there in these rich countries and they want to come and improve the lives of people in our continent. Yes, we are suffering a lot, and we need to stand up and also unite with the diaspora so that we can improve our motherland. We can get rid of all the social ills and a lot of other things that I don't want to dwell much on them. But we know that we have people that are in hunger, poverty, and diseases and all that. And we are also not well skilled in some of the things that might be that might solve some of the problems that we are facing. So skills exchange programs, cultural exchange programs are very important for us with all the people that are in the diaspora. And we really wish that we can build these relationships with the diaspora so that we can improve the life of people that are in the continent.
Thank you very much, Your Royal Highness Princess Nikiwe. Your Excellency, Ambassador Namboka, please expound on what Her Royal Highness has just shared with us and tell us what are some of the major Pan-African principles that will shape the Pan-African Day at the pilgrimage. You're on mute, Your Excellency.
Aminata. Princess Nikiwe has covered a wide range of things Pan-Africanist. Her dream is to see all Africans recognizing themselves as one people, culturally, and when we say culture, it means leadership, traditional leaders, kings, queens, the way we speak our languages, and so on and so forth. So in the spirit of Aido, there is this side which is Africans, wherever people may be, all people who recognize themselves as descendants of the continent are being called upon to be like one family and to go back to the philosophical basis we had before the interruption came in with foreigners. We talk about colonialism, but colonialism more or less occurred only about 100 years ago. But we had interruptions that disrupted Africa 500 years ago. As soon as the Europeans began to sail on the big oceans, for them from the time of Christopher Columbus, 1492, they began coming and taking away people, kidnapping, and so on and so forth. And so Africans who are the descendants of those people who left the continent 500 years ago, fortunately, used their brains and laid the basis. They are the initiators of the spirit of one Africa, because those people, intelligent and resilient, judged that Africans should see ourselves as one, wherever we may be. Of course, the first Black country to govern itself in that sense, I'm talking about after being disrupted, was Haiti. Slaves who decided to get together and fight and courageously, heroically beat off the colonial so-called masters and owners. That was in 1803. And they've been great sons of Africa from the diaspora, descendants of slaves, Marcus Garvey, Du Bois, and so on and so forth. There are women too, who sat down and started the idea of all Africans, wherever they may be, getting together. And they went through in France, in Britain, they met the very first African liberation guys like Kwame Nkrumah, Jomo Kenyatta. These people were working together with the descendants of Africa. That is the spirit Aido is promoting. Go back to the spirit of Pan-Africanism. And this is why Aido is launching this pilgrimage where we take the best of Africa's traditional presence, the kings and queens, to travel, cross the Atlantic Ocean, go to the Americas, and in flesh and bones, embrace the descendants of Africa, recognize their merits, and thank them. This is why when Princess Nikiwe says African traditions are very important, they had been sidelined, culture, our values, and the kings and kingdoms. These people who are kings and queens fought the guys that came to disrupt African culture. And we know that they're very proud. I'm familiar a little bit because I've been reading magazines published by the organization Princess Nikiwe leads, and they speak and they've got authority and they're informed. When she says she's a scientist, that is her strong point. And we must go down, revive our culture, not on sheepish, cheap propaganda, but based on scientific, indisputable facts. And we are proud to see her come with one of Africa's very young king, Inkosi, Ngqalabutho Sizwe, who is here. I hope he will be blessing us with his own wisdom. Kings are kings. Even when he's 5 years old, he's a king. And we believe in spirituality. Princess Nikiwe touched about the spiritual side of the African. We are spiritual people. So the king, even if he was only 10 years old, he's God-given, he's anointed, and we'll be lucky today to hear his voice. When he says his name, some of us don't know, we bite our tongues to pronounce it, but we are looking forward to hearing him tell us in the spirit of African traditional cultures. That's Aido's objective. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Namboka. Now we're going to take a quick commercial break, and then we'll be right back to hear from His Royal Highness Inkosi Sizwe. Thank you.
Greetings everyone from Ghana, Accra. My name is Princess Jabulisile Mahlangu. I'm a Ndebele princess from the Ndebele Kingdom in South Africa. I am here in Accra, Ghana, as an Aido in their conference, their third annual conference. Their theme for this year was Culture and Business Uniting Africa and her Diaspora. It has been a great experience for me to be here. You know, we got to learn a lot of things and we got to interact with other kingdom people, kingdom kings from all over Africa. And really, it has been a learning journey and an eye-opening experience for me. And also, I'd like to thank the organizers of this conference to bringing us together, to unite us as Africans, because together we can go further. And what I would like to say to my colleagues, fellow kingdoms in South Africa, to all the kingdoms, the Zulu kingdom, the Xhosa kingdom, and my kingdom, where I come from, the Ndebele kingdom, I say, you know, it has really been an eye-opening experience, and I cannot wait to come back home and share everything that I've learned and experienced here in Ghana. And I am hoping that all of us will be present in the next conference, that is summer 2022. So I'd like to say, let us get ready to unite Africa to its original state, to unite Africa to where it used to be, because we are one people, you know, so we must not let politics and issues separate us. We are one, and let us work together. And I would like to say to Queen Bungane and my King, get well. We are hoping to see. Thank you so much.
Welcome back to Roots of Africa, presented by Aido Network International. I'm your hostess, Her Royal Highness Queen Aminata Asali II. Before we went to commercial break, we heard from Her Royal Highness Princess Nikiwe, who shared with us her thoughts on Pan-Africanism and its role in the pilgrimage, along with what she's doing as an Aido cultural ambassador to promote the pilgrimage. Additionally, we heard from His Excellency Ambassador Mboka about some important principles of Pan-Africanism that has shaped Pan-Africanism today and its role that it will play in the upcoming pilgrimage. Now it's my distinct honor and pleasure to bring to you His Royal Highness Inkosi Sizwe from South Africa. Welcome to the show, Your Royal Highness.
Greetings to you, Queen Aminata. Greetings to you, Ambassador Mboka. Greetings to you also, our friend, Princess Nikiwe, a fellow South African, and of course, one of our royals in Africa and in South Africa. Firstly, maybe let me pass my royal salutation to kings of nations, queens, and other senior traditional leaders, Amakhosi, of course, as well as Izindunas. By the name of Izinduna, I mean headmans or headmen, who are people who are, of course, at the valleys or in other places where kings or chiefs may not go at those places at that point in time, but they are considered to be the watch over on behalf of kings and chiefs at the valleys. So greetings to everyone who is watching, and of course the viewers at home. Greetings to you as well. Thank you for having us tonight on the show, ma'am.
Thank you very much, Your Highness. Your Highness, would you please explain to us how you came to be given the title Inkosi?
Well, it's an old tradition and a governing system which has been present in Africa over the years. How does one get to inherit the title? Is by virtue of being a direct descendant of a king or a chief who has been on the throne as a king or a chief of that particular tribe or a nation for the past years. And of course, as a son of that particular king or a chief, and that of a legitimized son to ascend to the throne after the previous king or a chief has left us in this world, you then become a king or a chief, and you are given a title which you directly take from the previous king or a chief. So that's how you become a king or a chief, as a result or by virtue of being a descendant of the previous king.
Thank you. Being born and raised in South Africa, which isn't long behind outside of apartheid, please share with us your thoughts on human rights as it relates to the African people globally.
Sorry, come again, ma'am.
Being born and raised in South Africa,
Right.
please share with us your thoughts on human rights as it relates to African people globally.
You are touching on a very important aspect of our lives in South Africa. What comes to my mind when you speak of human rights is an ability to live freely within a certain geographical boundaries of a certain country. Not only a country, but going down to a place where a human being should live freely, not being suppressed by any other, any other what you call it's called sorry ma'am, where you find that a person is suppressed by any laws, so that a person can live in a space where he or she cannot move freely. So after we have gained freedom, we had gone over that, ma'am. So we are now living freely as compared to how our fellow brothers and sisters had lived before. So we are now in a much more free space compared to those who had lived before. They had died on our behalf, ma'am. They had suffered major loss in their lives. Some lost their parents, some lost their lives for us to be where we are today. However, ma'am, we want to take what they had started forward. We cannot be ashamed of all that. We will speak about it, and we will strive to go forward on what they had already started for us to live freely today, ma'am.
Thank you very much, Roy. I don't know, I'm getting some feedback from my microphone for Ambassador Namboka, Your Excellency, would you please explain how Aido's vision and mission present a huge project for the Grand Royal Summit to converge with Africa's traditional cultural values and heritage?
Please unmute, Ambassador.
Sorry, I was saying, Queen Aminata, that I couldn't get the question. There was so much echo. Could you kindly repeat the question?
The question is, how does Aido's vision and mission, particularly the present huge project of the summit, converge with Africa's traditional cultural values and heritage?
Thank you very much indeed. What I might say is something that will probably surprise viewers who have heard His Royal Highness Inkosi Sizwe for the first time, but what he has said in regard to the centrality of the human rights subject, when he referred to people in Africa, in South Africa in particular, died for his own generation today to be alive. Now, Aido is very, very conscious about the African cultural philosophy of Ubuntu. Colonization, enslavement, and slavery were the negation of the philosophy of Ubuntu. It was the total negation. And when Aido says we want to reactivate, to rejuvenate, to renew African beliefs in human rights as a central societal glue that keeps us all together, Aido is saying exactly what the king has been saying just now. Now, I happen to have been reading this today. Is it possible for me to show this? Can you see this book? Our friends who are viewing, can you see that book? Queen Aminata, can you hear me?
Yes, we can see it.
I was reading that book by a big historian, and in this book I saw what the king has just said. Kings in Africa are not self-appointed. Kings are the people's choice, the people's will. That is the sense of human rights. Kings are not people who run over their people. Traditionally, a king, a queen, a chief worked in accordance with what his people made him. Earlier, I had mentioned traditionally, when a king is young, say 10, 12, 15, even 20 years, he exercises his authority because he has counselors, he has courtiers, he has advisors, he has a traditional setting that makes him do what society wants. Kings are not rebels. Unfortunately, the new colonial settings and mechanisms have brought on the continent a type of leadership that tends to be counter to human rights. And from time to time, you have difficulties, people going against the people that they chose because they no longer follow the wishes of the people. We are going back to African traditional leadership based on ethics and morals. And when we say Ubuntu, that which human beings feel is humanly appropriate. This is why Aido chose, when we go to meet our brothers and sisters who are descendants of people who are taken away by crooks and criminals, it was actually human trafficking at the worst kind of thing. We want to go with the kings and queens, and we are speaking to our queens and kings in Africa to prepare them to feel proud of what their ancestors did, how their ancestors ruled society. The wealth, the prosperity, the dignity, the grandeur Africa had before slavery, before colonialism. This is why we trace back our historical values in our kings and queens. And I'm so happy that you're asking me to speak after the king has spoken. He has told you human rights in Africa are things that people are ready to die for. And speaking from the children of the Republic of South Africa today, we know that Mandela said, human rights are so valuable that if it needed him to die, he would die for them. It's on record. That is Africa. But the quality of leaders we see in our kings and queens has been sidelined and have assumed lesser and lesser weight in the direction of societies. We want our kings and queens culturally to have their impact, to set models of leadership that takes people as the most important aspect of a nation. So Aido's pilgrimage to the Caribbean and taking the kings and queens is two-pronged. It has two dimensions. Coming up and showing what Africa has from what we used to be, because we still have them. But like we've neglected languages, like we've neglected dress, like we even feel shy not to be white. Some people are sorry because they are not white. And Aido is saying, wake up, be serious. We are as we were created, and not being white or yellow or blue should not be an issue. We believe that Africans, like any other human society, are the best they could possibly be, and we should be proud. This is what takes us to the Caribbean, to the Americas, to revive among Africa's children whose experiences have made them feel they are nothing. People look at them as slaves, created by God as slaves. That's bunkum. That's nonsense. Africans were just created. In fact, in the first place, God created Africans. There were no other people. And people who have made mistakes and committed crimes and made Africans slaves made a mistake, and they've taught people to think that it's bad to be an African. And today, Aido is standing up proudly, rising to the sky and saying, Africa is dignified, Africa is respected, Africa can be without what others want to bring. In fact, there was no bringing of civilization. It's Africa who's initiated civilization at all. And so to take the words of His Royal Highness Inkosi Dlamini and Princess Nikiwe, what we are saying and what we are going to speak loud and clear in August in Missouri at the Royal Summit is be African, be proud, respect yourselves, and the rest will follow. And we stop looking like we're looking for hand-me-downs or trying to be like they should be looking like this. Those are the things I appreciate in the conversation and the message I've received from His Royal Highness King Sizwe Dlamini and our second guest, Her Royal Princess Nikiwe Bam. If that answers a little bit of what you're asking, how we link up in the mission to meet our brothers and sisters who are in the diaspora.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Your Royal Highness Sizwe, would you please tell us what you intend to ask your people to do in the future in respecting the positive traditional cultural values of Africa? Your Highness, you're on mute.
Thank you for the question, my queen. Look, we have moved over time to reach the time in which we are today. We can only hope that by what we were taught by our forefathers, grandfathers and fathers, we can only hope that we can do so much to pass that on to the future generation that will obviously come after us. Even those who live at the same time as we live, we want to educate them in terms of our cultures, in terms of our traditions, so that they uphold the same going into the future, so that also those who are coming after us may learn from the very same teachings. So it's something that we have started to educate our people in terms of our cultures and traditions. In actual fact, in South Africa, there is a statute where it is written cooperatively with the government system and also the traditional house, where there's a department of culture where it stipulates that a mission of a king or a chief or a queen in South Africa is to uphold traditions of his or her own nation or a tribe. So it is our first priority as kings, chiefs, and queens in Africa to uphold our traditions. So it's our first mission. That's what we teach our people before we can teach them anything else. We live in a world today that is, so demanding in terms of our progressiveness, but also we should not forget our history, norms, traditions, and cultures. That's what we teach our people, ma'am, going forward, going into the future. We want them to uphold that as forever we live, because it will always serve as an identity of who we are. And of course, to know ourselves. Many have said it before. In order for you to know where you are heading to, you need to know where you come from. We can't just head to a place where we are without any direction. We need to know where we come from in order for us to know where we are heading to. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Your Highness. What you said is very, very important. And in that same regard, Africa's diaspora also needs to have a similar appeal. So what parental message do you have as the Inkosi to give to your children in the diaspora?
That one for me is very important, ma'am. When you speak of the rest of the African community present in Africa, and some of them having to be abroad, it goes a long way, ma'am. It does not start here today. It started way back. Some went abroad during the times of, slavery. Some were forced removals, ma'am. So for me, it goes a long way. We need to communicate a message where we would see them tracing back to their roots to find out exactly as to who were their forefathers, who were their grandfathers, who are their direct people that they have descended from. So it's a long way, ma'am. We have a very huge task ahead of us, but of course we need to be united. We cannot speak to them without unifying ourselves first. We need to unify ourselves first, and then head to the rest of the African community elsewhere to try and say, look, brothers and sisters, this is where we come from. At least if you can give us your attention on that, we would be much more than happy for you guys to come and see home at least, and then see how beautiful we are, see how beautiful your land is, see the native Africans, and then perhaps go back overseas if you are enjoying life there and the rest of the world where you guys are at. But just to come back at home and see where you have directly came from in the beginning. So that's our message to them in the rest of the world and elsewhere, ma'am. We love them so much. We love everyone. We love the rest of our African brothers and sisters. I mean, I love you guys at the studio as well.
Thank you so much. That really fills my soul and touches my heart. Ambassador Namboka, I'm going to ask you to step in here. I seem to be having technical issues and getting a lot of feedback. I want to ask Princess Nikiwe, as a youth leader and a cultural ambassador for Aido, what message do you have for the youth in the diaspora that will encourage them and keep them on a mission to unity and connecting with our brothers and sisters on the continent? And then we'll have Ambassador Namboka take over and close us out.
Thank you. There's a bit of an echo, so I'm not sure if I picked up the question. But I think your question was, what is the message that I have for the people that are in the diaspora? As Inkosi has said it, they must come back home. And what I want to also to say is that you cannot be defined by your history or by the things that have happened to you, especially things that have been painful, because we know some of the history that was really painful for most of our Black brothers and sisters that have been taken away. Their descendants are still there. Some of them, they don't know where exactly in the continent they were taken from. But what I can say is that Africa is the home. When we were in Ghana, we opened the doors of return for all those Africans that have departed from those South Coast, and some of them that were kept in those dungeons in Ghana. We opened those doors. And we want to say that some of the people might not really trace back exactly where they descended, but also as spiritual people, you will always connect with the people that you'll feel spiritually that, you know, when I'm here, I feel that I'm home, you know. So some of us, even when you are here in South Africa, there are countries where when you reach that country, your spirit just becomes so calm. You know, I've experienced that also with Eswatini. So when you go to Eswatini, every time I reach there, you know, I don't have to go to any fancy places, but you'll feel the freshness. You'll feel that you are calm. Your spirit is settled and is happy where it is. So I pray that even our brothers and sisters in the diaspora, when they reach the African continent, they can feel the love, they can feel the warmth, and they can really connect to their roots. It doesn't matter which country they land in. If they can just say, you know, I feel the air, I'm calm, I can dream, I can connect. Some of them, you know, we should never underestimate the power of spirituality within us as Black people. I know some of them, even in those areas, they do possess the ancestral spirits. And I believe that even after 400 years, you'll find some of the spirits actually talking to them and guiding them and telling them exactly where to go to find peace and find the home. So what I'm saying is that let's not underestimate the power that we have. Let's always come together, and also they must always come to the African continent, touch the soil here, and sleep, you know. And I just wish that they don't go and sleep in the hotels, you know. You're not going to connect when you come to the big cities. Inkosi is here. People can go to the kingdoms. You sleep in the rondavels. You sleep next to the kraal. You touch the ground, you know, you touch the surface. You go visit the rivers. You speak to the waters. You go to the forest to speak to the forest. So whenever you come, we are here. You know, I'm the ambassador, ne? You know. So when you reach South Africa, Queen Aminata, you haven't reached South Africa if you haven't met Princess Nikiwe, ne? And Princess Nikiwe must take you to the rural areas where you're going to touch the cow dung, you know, go to the kraal, and you know, experience that, get in touch with nature. So I advise, let's not go to hotels when you come to the African continent. Let's go to our rural communities and meet our indigenous leaders there, so that you can sit and then they can tell you the history of their people and how some of the events occurred. Some of them, yes, they are still young, they might not know the knowledge, but you'll always have someone there that can always guide and tell. So we welcome you. We opened the doors of return. We are saying, return, come back home. Our arms are open. Love and light. Your mic.
Okay, Diaspora. Thank you, Princess Nikiwe. That was wonderful. Diaspora, she has given the call out. You are welcome to come back home. Ambassador Namboka, do you have any closing remarks for our audience?
Your mic.
Ambassador
Sorry.
Namboka, Your
Sorry.
Excellency.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
I thought that maybe the closing remarks would start by Aido expressing gratitude that His Royal Highness Inkosi Ngqalabutho Sizwe Dlamini set aside time to come and be on the Aido platform in anticipation of the Grand Royal Summit in August to speak to us. Because people who asked me at the beginning of this project, do kings actually exist in Africa? Can you say there were kings? Because these people in the diaspora, especially those who descend from the old unfortunate brothers and sisters who left 500 years ago, for all those 4 centuries have been slaves. And maybe slave makes one think you're a human being, but they were treated as just property. No respect, no dignity. Now, here we are. We have a king with us, a fresh one, a young one. And he is speaking, and he's keen and burning to hug, to embrace those people, and let them know many of them actually were captured. Their grandfathers some of them were actual kings. Because when you refused to join the foolishness of selling people, they captured you. Either they killed you or they took you as one of the slaves. And here's a chance. Aido is getting kings like this wonderful young king speaking to you live. And in the next 2-3 months, he will be in flesh, in person, in Missouri. That is Africa for you. So we're grateful as Aido. I talked about the 2-pronged aspect of our project. Africa wants to be proud. Africa wants to revive the pride, the peace, the prosperity, the elegance we had prior to the savages coming and disrupting what Africa was. But at the same time, this pride on the continent is being connected with arousing pride and self-respect and confidence among the children of Africa, of the diaspora. Because those people, Queen Aminata, you have told me many times, people fail to see the great human being you are. And you must cry, Black Lives Matter, because people just kill us. Now, who is the savage? The one who kills or the one who is killing? I don't want to answer that question. So to say that Africans are savages today is to make a big mistake. So we are calling upon our sisters who are descendants of our brothers who left many, many centuries ago to feel strong. We love you. Maybe you don't have to come and settle on the continent, because now you have a country like Jamaica, like Barbados, like Antigua, like Haiti. Those are homes also. And Africa is proudly recognizing the Caribbean Community of Nations as the 6th region of African unity. So the continent has 5 regions, and the diaspora constitutes the 6th. And we are proud to say that last September, the President of the Republic of Kenya, President Uhuru Kenyatta, a child of Kenya's first president, Jomo Kenyatta, a man who was a friend of Marcus Garvey, the friend of Du Bois in London in 1900. Those were people who were together, and those are the people who laid the basis of African unity. So the AU has officially held the first ever summit of heads of government and presidents. We, civil society, as Aido, are following in the footsteps of Marcus Garvey, in the footsteps of Du Bois, in the footsteps of Kwame Nkrumah, in the footsteps of Haile Selassie, the Lion of Judah. These are the people who laid the African spirit of oneness, Africanism, Pan-Africanism. So I'm saying we thank His Royal Highness the King to be with us today, to continue in the thread, in the vein of African oneness. We thank Princess Nikiwe for being a mover of mountains, because you don't get a king just like that. She has been an effective ambassador. Some of us understand the word ambassador to be very strong. And His Royal Highness has given 10 out of 10, because she's a mathematician, she understands figures. The Royal King, Sizwe Dlamini, has given our ambassador, as Aido's ambassador to South Africa, 10 out of 10 for representing Aido and being an interpreter of our message. We beg you, Princess Nikiwe, to continue, because the work is in progress. We want the kings of South Africa, the kings in Ghana, everywhere, to be in big, high gear and embrace our children that Africa loves, but has at 5,000 miles away from the continent. That will be my concluding remark, if you allow. There may be questions, of course. I think it's good manners to allow space for questions when you say things. Thank you so much, Queen Aminata, for running the show.
Thank you, Your Excellency. And with that, we are going to go ahead and close out. I want to thank everyone for tuning in to Roots of Africa, presented by Aido Network International, and thank our guests for coming on and honoring us with their knowledge and their presence and their vision and their passion and their love for the diaspora. That's really heartwarming and touching for me as a diasporan, and I thank you. See you guys next week. Please subscribe to the Aido YouTube channel and Facebook channel so that you can get notified whenever we go live or when Aido uploads a video. Please visit idonetwork.org to get your ticket to the pilgrimage and sponsorship if you want to sponsor and buy a vendor booth or an exhibition booth. Everything can be found on idonetwork.org. Thank you.
Aido, Aido.